not a bad situation. So the next thing that happened was this big undead, evil, horrible lich of Stiphen. Now Stiphen is the black dragon, because there are gods and dragons in Underworld, and dragons and gods don't get along. Dark gods and light gods don't get along. So there's this sort of like three-pronged hatred, right? Where like light gods and dark gods fight and dragons fight both, and sometimes dragons and light will ally to fight dark, and sometimes dragons and dark will ally to fight light, and various things. But like Stiphen is the black dragon of undeath and destruction. He is beyond fucking redemption. There is no one that likes Stiphen. But we had to fight this lich of Stiphen. This dragon knight lich ogre of Stiphen. And this wasn't just a regular thing. This was like some serious plot setup shit. There was a whole bunch of waves of undead, and Daegrin and Ectus, the Maligant Dread Knight, came to an accord that they would fight together to beat this guy. They're like, Stiphen is so bad that I will ally with someone who is usually my worst enemy to get rid of a worse enemy. So light and dark allied together to fight dragon. See? It's great. It works. It's a great three-pronged system of hatred. It's super fun. So even Daegrin and Ectus like got along for this fight. And they sent waves and waves of undead at us, which we took out handily. And then we saw something on the horizon, like, moving. We saw something coming towards us. Around the corner. It was a fucking bus costumed up like a war elephant. This thing was an undead mammoth that the lich was riding on. It was a bus. It was a fucking bus with like a thing on top where the like people were standing. The lich was standing on the top of this fucking bus with like 4 of his people. And they're undead all around it, and like it was coming towards us, like driving in the field, like towards us, and everybody was like, "Oh shit! Like, holy fuck!" You know, like, and it's got like a slide as a trunk, and like this elephant face over the front, and these 2 foam tusks and like legs along the side of it. Like, it was super cool. And Daegrin had a mass earlier to like give everybody, like give like a whole bunch of people blessings of Sybil so that their weapons would swing for magic, when the banner went up. And Daegrin looked at me and said, "Aeryn, can you hold the banner?" And I was like, "You're gonna give me the banner?" "Okay, sure. I can hold the banner of Sybil. The banner of your light god, the god that you've threatened to kill me because of? Sure, I'll hold the banner. Why not? Thanks for your trust." You know? And so he goes again, I channel Sybil to create banner of the faithful, and hands it to me. And so I like hoist it high on my club. You know, so that everybody who's got a blessing of Sybil can come and touch it and get +1 magic to their attacks. I knew that it was in my best interest to survive this fight, and the best way to survive this fight as a person who can't really fight undead was to be at the back holding a flag, right? I'll be at the back holding a flag, keeping 20 other people in the fight. So that was good. But yeah, so the undead mammoth fucking shows up with this ogre lich of Stiphen on top of it and like 4 other people. All throwing fucking spells off the top on this little, like, construction. Like, fucking raining hell down on us while we try and kill the mammoth. And waves of undead are pouring out of this thing, like, coming out the back of it and just respawning continuously. These waves of ghouls and zombies and, like, whites and shit. It was fucking crazy. It was really, really cool. And then I overhead, out of character, there was a drone taking a few like drone video shots. So hopefully there'll be there'll be something to show you of that, which is really cool. When I get the chance, I will share that with you if it becomes available. But yeah, so at the back, I'm holding this flag up. And Colleen comes over and says, like, do you want to hold it higher? And I went, sure. He goes, here, hold my spear. And then, gets claws and says, like, if I need it back, give it back to me, but hold it higher. So I pull the flag onto the spear and hoist it high. And the fight begins. And the fighting of the mammoth starts. And I would say Ectus, Daegrin, and Gigaliath the Ogre were the three who contributed the most, like, damage to this thing. They poured shit tons of hits into it. So many. There's one point where I watched Daegrin and Gigaliath dash under the bus. Like, the bus that was the mammoth. They went under it and started hitting the underneath of it. I saw them, like, run past the wave of undead and, like, power slide underneath this thing and start hitting it underneath. Apparently, while they were under there, one of the feet was, like, leg raises, and the foot lifts, and I could hear all this happening, but I couldn't really see. I was, like, further back, away, like, far enough away that stuff couldn't be thrown at me or shot at me so that the banner would be interrupted. But apparently the leg, like, raised and was about to come down and do 50 massive damage to both of them, wiping them out under the mammoth and, like, definitely according them a death. Like, there's no way anybody could rescue them. But Daegrin cast a Divine Ward, which, like, is a 10-foot circle of anyone who's not blessed by Daegrin's god, can't be in it. So the foot's about to fall and crush them both. He goes, Divine Ward! And, like holding up with the force of divine power this giant mammoth foot that is this giant undead mammoth foot that is trying to crush them to death. And they managed to, like, wriggle out and, like, get back into a position where they could fight again. But like, what the fuck, man? Oh, what the fuck is so cool. So all that kind of stuff was happening, and the fight was going on. The elephant was getting injured. This fight took, I'm not kidding, at least an hour. I'm doing it small justice by describing only a few of the cool things that are happening, you know? Everybody was having heroic moments all over the field. If it was just like, I'm fighting these lesser undead, you know, with my magic that Sybil has granted me, and stuff, and getting in there and scrapping, everybody was, like, really working together and, like, scrapping together and fighting together, and calls for healers and lives and whatever happening everywhere, and it was a fucking battle, guys. It was a fucking battle. It was the one shining moment, the one shining amazing moment in an otherwise really mediocre event. I'm not gonna lie. It was, you know, I had fun because I had fun, but the event overall was fairly mediocre. But this was the one shining moment. And I got to watch the whole thing standing there with this flag on this fucking hillside. So that was cool. What about that brood thing? I mean, we get to that later.
Vigorously hug them!
Thank you, Ruby
Yay.
Rage, for the 19 months in a row. Much obliged. But yeah, so during this fight, a couple of times, undead came to try and stop the banner, you know, and somebody would help me defend or whatever. But, like, my magic doesn't really work on undead. It's all mind affecting. Like, psionics doesn't work on undead, and most of witchcraft is, like, fear and you know, like, effects like that, and it's not good against undead. I could Shatter Skull them, but I don't have that many Shatter Skulls. Or I could Toad them, but I don't have that many Toads. Though I did Toad a few undead. Like, I'm sort of standing on my own, and this one ghoul comes busting out the fight, running towards me, swinging, and and holding the flag, I just quietly go like, I summon a hex to inflict race change Toad, and Toad the ghoul, and it turns into a Toad right at my feet. So I pick it up and I huck it over my shoulder, and then I just keep holding the banner and hope nobody saw me. That actually happened. Yeah. I just... the NPC playing the ghoul just went to respawn or whatever, because you'd have to wait 10 minutes and then, you know, come back, and it was more important to just respawn. What does holding the banner do? Holding the banner keeps 20 other people with +1 magic on their weapons in the fight, who otherwise would not be able to hurt the undead with their regular magic. I mean, with their regular weapons that aren't magic. So the banner was keeping people in the fight. So there you go. Like, it worked out pretty well. What else? What else can I tell you? So we did end up killing it. This thing did eventually go down, and we eventually killed the Lich. We did eventually kill the Lich that rode it, and it was a hell of a fight. It was an hour-long fight, and even just standing there with the banner, I was tired. I couldn't imagine what the people who were in the very thickest of it were feeling. They were definitely exhausted, right? And like, it was really good. It was really good. It was the shining moment, like I said, in an otherwise fairly fairly mediocre event. And it was only Sunday night. There's still a whole Monday to go. Whoo, boy. What else did I do? Let me see. Oh, yes. I think really the last cool, important story that I have to tell about this whole thing is how I created another witch. I created another witch. And I have another servant tied to me. It's great. So I had some things to trade, some stuff to do of my own, demon-related stuff, and I'd had a conversation with a fawn earlier, played by my friend Zoe, whose name was Basil, and she had said, like, I'm really interested in, like, what you do, and I saw you do some stuff, and I really want to learn about what you do, you know. I want to learn that. It looks really good, you know. I went like, of course I can teach you. You'll have to come and meet my patron and make a sworn bargain, of course, but I can teach you, certainly. And so she said, like, oh, of course, yeah, I'll come and meet Basil. I mean, I'll come and meet Nostromus, said Basil. Yeah, Basil like the spice, exactly. And I brought my other friend Victor, who has been a loyal member of my sort of secret society of people who know I'm a witch for a little while, but who loves his greed. He's a human who loves gold, you know. And I was saying to them both as we walked over towards Plot Camp to do demon stuff, because, like, I have to talk to Plot to get demon stuff done. And I was saying to them both, like, think about what you want to ask, and think about what you have to offer. Basil, I believe if you offer your true name, you'll get exactly what you want. Offer your true name, and you'll get exactly what you want. And Victor was like, oh, I don't know what I want. And I said, Victor, Why don't you ask for something that will give you gold all the time? Something that could make a gold a day out of nothing. That seems like something that you would enjoy. Greedy round ear that you are. She says, like, meaning no racism, but totally being a racist. And he goes, that might be a good idea. Yeah, I might be able to do that. You know? But we went to Plot, and I said, like, I have some demon deals to make. Please, when you have time to give me a shaper, give me a shaper. That's all I ask. And we sat for like half an hour out of game, waiting for a demon to deal with, you know, and talking to each other and so forth. And eventually, we got somebody came out and said, okay, so like, well, what are you dealing for? And we talked out of character, and I said, like, well, Basil here is going to ask for witchcraft, and in return, she'll offer her true name and be bound to me. And Basil looks at me like, what? And I went, just to make sure. If you weren't planning to hurt me anyway, it won't matter. You know? She goes, yeah, all right. I wasn't planning to do anything bad, but if you need that, then that's fine. Yeah. I went, good. That's the deal. Her true name to you. You give her witchcraft and bind her to me. Thank you. And then turn to Victor and say, like, well, Victor, what do you want? And Victor says, I don't know. I don't think I can make a deal. You know, I think I'll just stand out on this one. So I said, fine, good. And the Shaper went to confer with the others about the whole, we'll give you a true name and then bind, you know, like witchcraft and what have you. And they remorted her character right there. They took away her nature magic and gave her witchcraft. Right away. Took away her nature magic and gave her witchcraft. And basically went like, you're a witch now, have fun! She doesn't like know any of the spells or have any idea what to do with them. But, boom! You lose your nature magic from your head and you learn witchcraft. Little innocent little fawn Basil. And they gave it to her right there. They took the price out, you know, that it would cost 10 frags and stuff from her bank of things, because I did say, like, yo, that's not how it worked for me. Holy fuck. But yeah, so that worked out pretty well. They took the nature magic away and gave her witchcraft. And and then said, this is your true name, because you didn't have one. You didn't have it on your sheet. So here's your true name. And they showed her true name to her, and she's like, okay, cool. Like, I know what it is now. And Aeryn, here's her true name. This is her true name. You know it now, and like showed me the true name, so I knew what Basil's true name was. So I had that power over her. And then they also said, oh yeah, and also she's soul linked to you. If you die, she dies, but not the other way around. If she dies and nothing happens to you, but if you die, she dies. Is that good? I went, yeah, I'm alright with that. And Zoe, the person playing Basil, was like, that's awesome! You know, like, she's into it. Like, out of character, she was into it. In character, she may have realized that she's made a mistake now. But, you know, it happens. Sometimes you make a snap bad deal, and you get bound by soul to Aeryn. If someone manages to kill me, I've got so many people dying with me. It's 2 right now. It's 2. But yeah, so that was pretty good. And then Victor, who's sitting there, the demon turns to Victor and says, "What do you want?" And Victor says, "Oh, I'm just here to meet you for this first time. I don't want to make a deal." And the demon looks at me like, "Really? Someone who isn't bound is here?" And I said, "He's a loyal servant. He works well. He does what I say." The demon goes, "Oh, he's a loyal servant, is he? Oh, well, that's good to know. How do you know he's a loyal servant? Do you have his true name?" And I went, "I summon a hex to shatter your skull," and just dropped Victor into the ground. And I looked the demon in the eyes, and directly looking the demon in the eyes, I went, "I summon a hex to grant Dark Pact." I burned a scroll for that one. I didn't have that many left. But I summon a hex to grant Dark Pact. "Do you accept?" And Victor accepted, and he got back up. And I went, 1. "See? Loyal servant." The demon goes like, "Oh, I like the way you operate. Yes, good. Good. Well done." And that was the end of the meeting. Sorry, my phone is beeping. And that was how I made another witch. It's pretty great. Went pretty well. Witchcraft is just like multi-level marketing. Aeryn's the Cutco of Calidor. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah. For those of you wondering about the soul links and like the whole like, whoa, if you die, they die, how does that work? The first death that I take while they're soul linked, they also take a death. So they don't final or anything, or like not when I final, they final. But the first time I die, they also die. I think that's when the link ends though. So it isn't like they're linked forever and every time I die, they also die. It's just the first time I die, they die. So that's, you know, it's cool. I'm into it. It's good. It's fun. And then on Monday morning, like, I NPC'd. So I NPC'd Monday morning and did the final mod as an NPC, and there wasn't much to say about that, really. Except that a demon I wrote made it into game! Because the final mod had Demons of Nostromus in it, and the Lector showed up. The demon made entirely of mouths and, like, a hooded cloak, and just mouths everywhere and a hooded cloak. A demon that me and Dave wrote together when we were doing the Nostromus Culture Pack or whatever. They made it into game! It's so cool! I was so happy to be like, oh man, that's a Lector! That's the thing that I did. I did that. So yeah, I got to see the awesome, horrible power of a thing I wrote come into game. It's pretty nice. I think that's it. I think that's the stories. We came to kill the brood, and we didn't succeed, and Gamora drove us off the island. That's basically how it worked at the end there. But I think that's just so that, like, brood can keep going and the plot can keep going and so forth. Oh, boy. Yep. That was my Warcry weekend. It alternated by the way, I had wet feet this entire weekend. Because it alternated between being absolutely fucking rainy, overcast bullshit to being so blazingly hot I wanted to die to being rainy, wet, thunderstorm bullshit. Like, there was no in between ever. My feet were wet the whole event, and I got a sunburn, as you can well see. My makeup covered parts of my face, thus keeping the sunburn off of them, but leaving me with a fun pattern. But my feet are okay. They survived. And I hope you enjoyed my stories.